Hi, I'm Suzanne Siracuse. Welcome to season 2 of my podcast, Focused on the Future, Keys to Building a Profitable, Sustainable, and Impactful Business. And I'm excited to be partnering with wealthmanagement.com on this. This series will focus on what firms need to embrace to ensure their growth and success for the future. And you'll hear from industry leaders and advisors on what is working for them. I have a great lineup of guests in store, and today I'm talking with Stacy Francis. Stacy is the president and CEO of Francis Financial, a fee-only boutique wealth management, financial planning, and divorce financial planning firm dedicated to providing ongoing comprehensive advice for successful individuals, couples, and women in transition. Stacy is also the founder of the nonprofit Savvy Ladies, and we are going to talk about your amazing nonprofit today for sure. So welcome, Stacy. Thank you so much for being my guest. I'm really looking forward to sharing your story with the industry.
Thank you, Suzanne. I am so excited to be here today, too.
Great, great. Well, listen, I always like to start off the podcast with asking everyone about how they actually got into the wealth management industry. And you have a very personal reason that you wanted to become an advisor. So can
Yeah.
you share a little bit about your story?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I never pictured myself as a financial advisor. Money intimidated me. Even in, Suzanne, I remember in math class my freshman year in geometry, sitting at the back of the class, hoping that I wasn't going to be called upon. And here I am. I'm a financial advisor dealing with numbers all day, every day. And it's really the way that I grew up and my family history that shaped me, that really forced me into this field. I learned very young how important it is, particularly for women to have agency over their money, for women to have financial security and financial freedom, because my grandmother didn't. And she was trapped in a financially abusive, emotionally abusive, and actually physically abusive. So much so that she actually died from the abuse.
Wow.
I grew up seeing this and couldn't quite comprehend in my mind how this amazing, lovely, kind-hearted, sweet soul could be in the situation, let alone stay in the situation. And there was a lot for me to learn that I continue to learn every day. And she shared why she stayed before she passed away. She shared she felt financially trapped. And quite frankly, Suzanne, she was. She was. And she ended up passing away. And part of my healing process was to do something to make sure that no other woman ever found herself in a situation that my grandmother did. And that's why I launched Savvy Ladies. And I was quite young. I was 26. Quite frankly, Suzanne, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no clue what I was undertaking. But I knew that my life was going to be dedicated to helping women to understand more about their finances, to build their financial literacy, build their financial confidence, and help them have a financially secure life. Because
So,
I saw exactly the opposite of that with her and how it absolutely trapped her. And ultimately, she lost her life because of it.
so this is it's such a sad situation. And you have been able to parlay that into really your life's mission,
Very much.
motivated, right? Motivated by wanting to do something to address so that no other woman had to go through what your grandmother did. It's really kind of almost like an unbelievable story. And I think that there are probably so many people out there that know someone that is financially trapped, even in this day and age. And I want to get to Savvy Ladies, but I also want to hear, how did that you say, you were uncomfortable with math, but how did you find yourself to become a financial advisor based off of like knowing that you wanted to do something to honor your grandmother and help other women, but like how did you actually know about what financial advice was?
So I ended up starting to take classes at night to learn about finance. And I worked full time. And then I enrolled myself in a CFP, Certified Financial Planner program here in New York City at NYU. And Susan, I never thought that I myself would become a financial advisor. But what I did learn is that understanding money for me is a life or death situation. And so I wanted to invest in myself. I wanted to learn. And I figured, you know what? Let me go and do the max because financial advisors know what they're doing. So if I take the CFP, if I take that, then I should figure out and know what I'm doing. And that way that can help me for the rest of my life in my life financially. Funny enough, I took the first class and I fell in love. I fell in love and it was really interesting because each class my financial confidence also was built over time. Suzanne, I realized I was pretty good at this stuff. I was getting really good grades. And it was crazy because I I was not in the financial field. I was doing investor relations and public relations, and all the other people in the classes were financial advisors. And it's really interesting how just that exposure, seeing myself do well, get really excited about learning, that really made me realize like, hey, you know what? I'm pretty good at this. This could be a profession. And it actually became really important for me because when I launched Savvy Ladies, I had these beautiful notions that we were going to be getting $100,000 grant checks and large, donations from individuals because our mission of financial empowerment, financial literacy for women is so important. But Suzanne, that didn't happen. And so I realized very quickly, and the year after is how I then launched Francis Financial. I knew that I was going to have to personally become very financially successful so that I could personally support the charity, which happened. It took a long time, but it happened.
So, first of all, I've known you for years because we met when you were one of the women to watch. And I also met you through Savvy Ladies, which now I'm on the board. I love it so much. We're going to talk about that in a second. But I never knew that the reason that you became an advisor was because you took CFP classes in order to be better financially educated personally. That is that's maybe a new area for the CFP board to focus on, people that just want to learn more about personal finance. But that's really amazing that you wanted to better understand the financial aspect of it for your own life versus saying I want to do this for a living, and that just happened organically. I love that. That is such a great story. I don't think I've ever heard that be anyone's journey before. So thank goodness that you did, because look at all the good things that you're doing.
Oh,
And
thank you.
with that, I want to talk about Savvy Ladies. In addition to running your own successful RIA, as you mentioned, you started Savvy Ladies over 20 years ago. And it's an amazing organization that provides financial education and resources to women and has a 24-hour helpline that's devoted to assisting women in crisis situations. We talk a lot on this podcast about the power of leaving an impact and giving back. Talk to us about Savvy Ladies and how advisors and firms can get involved.
I have to say, I feel like the people who join this field, there's a helping nature to us. I mean, we wouldn't join this field if we didn't love and care about people. I think one of the biggest challenges that we sometimes find, though, is that in our 9 to 5 professional life, there are a lot of clients we would love to work with, but we just financially with the economics can't do so. And that's where Savvy Ladies comes in and where all of the amazing volunteer opportunities really present themselves. Savvy Ladies, we have now over 300 volunteers. Many of them are certified financial planners. Others are experts in the area of debt or taxes, all the important areas that women come to Savvy Ladies for. And through our helpline, it is on an app and it is, I will tell you, so swish because you have queries that come up that are customed for your expertise. And then if you have time, you can pull it down and connect with her on your phone, on your app, on your computer. And so it's really lovely for financial professionals to be able to volunteer in a way that makes sense for them from a time perspective. Typically, we ask to work with one woman a month, that's 1 hour. And again, you can choose the topic, you can choose when you meet with her. I know for me, August, I tend to go away. So I don't typically take that many calls during August, but other advisors have really slow August and they're taking a lot of those questions. So it's a wonderful way to give back. And we meet with them on Zoom or phone or email. So we have volunteers in all 50 states, as well as women that we serve in all 50 states. And every topic you can imagine, from again, credit and savings to retirement to Social Security to I'm thinking about a divorce to my husband has passed away, looking to get a new job. What do I look for in salary? How do I look at the benefits? I mean, just every question you could possibly imagine.
And that is so helpful because many of these women wouldn't have another place to turn. They wouldn't know where to turn. And they're getting basically professional advice that they maybe could not have afforded if it wasn't for your charity. So, how are you raising money to support this? Because I know that you're not I know you personally support it a lot, but I know that there's other ways that people and firms can become getting involved, right? So there's the
Yeah.
volunteerism that you just talked about. What are some other ways that people can get involved in something like this? And pro bono financial planning is such a huge way that advisors can, but I know there are some other things that can be done too.
Yeah. So definitely, we receive fantastic grants from places like the Foundation for Financial Planning. And so, if any listeners know of foundations, grant making organizations, private foundations, a lot of them really do have a mission and a commitment either to financial literacy or for empowerment for women and also for college oriented students and as well as education. So grants, private foundations are all great organizations to introduce us to. A lot of companies are super involved with Savvy Ladies as well as part of their commitment to giving back, their commitment to helping move the needle forward. And so, whether you're a company and you've got 3 advisors, or we work with other organizations that, bless, they have thousands, they get involved through either sponsorship or making a commitment to really give the volunteer opportunities, give them light to all of their advisors so that they can get involved either through actually donating time to help a woman or, being a potential recipient of their donations. And, through all of this wonderful groundswell of support, it really has helped us do so much more. The number of women who will come and take, we have over 250 FINRA approved financial literacy courses. Many of them are in Spanish. Between that and the helpline, I think we'll be helping over 20,000 women this year. It's phenomenal. And the numbers just continue to double and quadruple over time. But what I would have to say is we can't do that without the financial donations. And we also can't do that without the actual volunteers
Mhm.
because the volunteers are so important and their support and expertise is so important.
That is amazing that you're serving over 20,000 women and just calling out JP Morgan, I know is a big donor, many others, the NASDAQ.
Yeah.
NASDAQ just you got the grant last year for the for the app that you mentioned. So,
Yeah.
again, there are a lot of advisors that are looking for ways to give back. There are a lot of firms that are looking for ways to give back, and I'm happy to promote this amazing resource on this podcast because it's really changing people's lives. So
Yeah.
kudos to you for starting this. Now, we talked to, you're a business owner, you're the founder of this nonprofit, you're also a wife, a mother, you participate in Ironman competitions, you have a sailboat. I mean, most people listening, including me, are thinking, how are you managing all of this? So what tips or best practices can you share about how to manage so many areas of your life and business?
Great question. It's a lot. And actually, when you say that, Suzanne, I got a little overwhelmed. I was like, oh, wow, I should be really stressed out right now. How am I doing this? Um, and I will tell you in all honesty, there really is no secret sauce, but I do have a superpower. I am super organized. And I don't know if you know about this, but how I got very organized and got a lot of systems to help me is that I had a really serious traumatic brain injury when I was young. The good news is I was very young, so I was able to. It took me about a decade to really kind of get back to where I was, but that happened when I was a senior in high school.
My
And
God.
so I had to drop out of high school for a little bit and then be able to kind of rebuild my short-term memory. I had my long-term memory, but not my short-term memory. And I was able to do that by working with people to help with executive functioning. And so I now have a little chart, and I know no one can see this, but I have a little chart that every day has a list of things that I need to do that are going to set me up for success. And they're things like, did I have this many glasses of water? Did I go to bed by 9:30? Did I exercise? And then also for building the business, it has things, how many new clients did you speak to? How many people did you make introductions for or referrals? So I have very key metrics that I myself need to achieve on a weekly basis. And then also for the firm, we have very, very detailed metrics of what we need to be achieving for the firm. And so the marketing team, the finance team, our client service team, and our leadership team, they are tracking important metrics that lead to what we know will be success for our firm. I'm very organized about that. And in my personal life, I'm also very organized in that we have a family calendar that has every kid's appointments and which parent is taking them to the doctors and who's attending this phone call. And we have a lot of communication where we sit and look at the calendar, the four of us, and figure out how are we doing this. So it's a lot, but I find the more organized I can be, the more comfort I feel, less anxiety, and the ability to kind of flow through everything. And also, I'm really good at asking for help. I would say that's another superpower. I'm really good at not micromanaging my staff and believing in them and letting them run with it because I can trust them. And even around the house, my kids can help with laundry. They can do dishes now, and just asking for help where like mama is really tired. I need you to feed the dogs and walk the dogs. And Sebastian, I really need you to do the dishes. And I'll be honest, Suzanne, it's just so not perfect. And I'm keeping it really real. And there are days where I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so tired. But most days, I would say 75%, I'm rocking and rolling. I'm feeling great. And, I'm loving every minute of it.
Oh my God. Well, first of all, I did not know that you had suffered a traumatic brain injury. Thank goodness that you were able to be so dedicated and that you had resources to help you get back to where you needed to be. But what an interesting way that you started off by saying organization, which I agree. I mean, I keep mine is not very organized, but I keep like lists constantly, lists, making
Yes,
sure that I'm
exactly. Yep.
the only way I can remember anything anymore. I don't know about you, but just how that has been a really key part of managing all the various facets of your life. And it is so much about organization, writing things down, etc. And then I love like asking for help and embracing that. I think one of the biggest weaknesses that many of us have at times is that we don't allow our teams to try it and fail or try it and succeed, right? And that trust factor of just saying, you go ahead, I trust that you can do it. And you have to do it when you have to be able to do that if you're running all of the different things that you're running, like so many advisors that listening to this podcast are. So those are great examples. And kudos to you. Now, this podcast is all about the future and what firms and individuals need to do to be successful now and in the future. So what key areas are you and your firm focused on to serve current and future clients?
So the first piece that I'm most proud of for 2024 so far is that we've started our succession planning. I know no one can see me, but I'm 49, and it may be odd for someone to think about succession planning at my age. Usually a lot of people think about it in their 60s and beyond, but we actually are starting early. And I plan to be here for, God willing, another, 20 years. I love what I do, but I've also seen so much succession planning go wrong. And it typically goes wrong because it's left to the last minute. And we don't want to be forced into making really good decisions for our team and for our clients. So I brought on 3 partners, and they're partners that I've worked with now for 10 years, plus as employees. And so now there's 4 of us, Avni, Natalie, and Sunana. Avni runs our director of financial planning investment management. Natalie is a senior lead advisor, and Sunana is our chief marketing officer. And these are women that have been with me for over a decade that I couldn't imagine my life without. And that would be really just something I would say to individuals, owners. It's hard to bring on owners because there's a lot of emotional work that has to happen internally, which I can be the 100% first person to say that, but it's the best thing you can do. It's what is going to make us continue to be so successful. And down to delegation too, of just like, I'm so blessed. Like, it's not just me anymore. It's not just me anymore, Suzanne. And I have these 4, kick butt women who are so skilled. And it's just mind blowing. What a blessing. What an absolute blessing it has been, and how safe I feel.
Yeah.
How safe, like we got each other's back. It just feels it's just such a relief. It's so wonderful. And I'm excited about, more owners coming down the line, and having that be a possibility for our staff, for those right people who want to do more than just be an employee. So yeah, exciting stuff, I have to say.
That's
Really exciting.
That's fantastic. I think like having the right people in the right roles, that executive leadership team, the people that have your back, that makes the founder or the CEO or the president's life so much easier. And it's great for those people. They have skin in the game, right? And they feel like they're building something with you versus for you. So I love that. And then you also work with, I mentioned a lot of your clients are women in transition.
Yes.
Um, what are some of the things that they're looking for from, I know you're also got an accreditation for certified divorce planning specialist. I think that's the correct
Yep.
terminology. What are they looking for in terms of an advisor? Is it changed at all, like since in the last 10 years, or what are some of the things that you feel you guys are doing really well that is like a little bit of a superpower that you love to share with other advisors?
Yeah. I mean, I know everybody hears about niche and how important it is. We're like the perfect poster child of why having a niche is so important, because our growth rate is, we grow organically. We've never bought anyone. We don't require anyone to bring a book of business to us to come and, literally you come here and we'll give you all the clients you need, because, if anything, we've had to raise our minimum because we had too many clients coming to us. Our minimum now is 2 million.
Wow.
The area of divorce is quite unique because not only do we advise the client, we actually will serve as an expert witness in court. And that's pretty unique and special. We charge hourly for that work. And we are modeling out the divorce settlement, looking at the tax impact, the differences of her financial future based on settlement A versus settlement B, making suggestions. And that person then stays with us afterwards. And so she then moves to an AUM model afterwards, charged as a percentage of assets under management once the divorce is final. And what we find is the cases that tend to come to us, and we work on typically about 30 cases a year. We bring on about 10 cases a year. This should probably be more than just that, just because it's been so busy. They tend to be very financially complex, which we love because they're really meaty and juicy and interesting, with restricted stock units that you then have to figure out what the marital versus separate property portion, privately held businesses, private equity, stock options, real estate, you name it, really
Stacey,
complex.
this is fascinating. I want to ask a couple of questions about this. So you basically serve as an expert witness and are, and this is another piece to your business, that you work with women going through divorce. How do they find you? And does anyone else do this? I mean, this is really cool.
Yeah, so there are people that do this work too. The designation, it's a certified divorce financial analyst. I think one of the biggest challenges, there are a lot of people that have CDFAs, and anyone out there who is a CDFA, what they will say their challenge was, which was mine in the beginning, is actually getting cases, just getting cases. And the average CDFA works on 1 to 2 cases a year. So it can be very hard to build this expertise, because while the CDFA is great, it's like you've just graduated kindergarten, right? You're not as educated as you really need to be to do a good job. And so what I did is I do 2 things. When I started in this area, I spoke 50 times a year. Yes, that's 50 times a year, at least once a week, as much as I possibly could in, podcasts and speaking engagements, and anywhere that I could get my voice out there about the importance of women making informed decisions through the divorce process and after. And what I then did is, as I started to get cases, I then paid another extremely experienced CDFA to proof every plan and all of my advice. So it was in the beginning a loss leader, until I was actually at that point where I felt confident in a case on my own. Now, it's very rare that I can be stumped on anything. And I'm not saying that from a boasting, it's just I've worked on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases. And for us, we work directly with often the lawyer. So about half of our cases, lawyers bring us in. And again, it's usually that very financially complex case where the lawyer's like, we need someone to kind of untangle this stuff and figure this all out for us. And then the other half are women who listen to my podcast. I have a podcast and I've done 5 years, hundreds of episodes about divorce. So she might read that, she might see me in CNBC or something like that, and then comes to us directly. So 2 different ways that they come to us. But it's been great because we've been able to work with clients that most likely would not have hired us just for straight AUM. but they choose us to work on their divorce and continue with us for AUM because we're so unique and special. And we have this very sophisticated service offering that can really help them in their divorce. And so we'll have cases that come to us where, it's $100 million case, and she's walking away with roughly about 50. It's really hard work, but very gratifying and interesting work too.
This is fascinating. So you really you define what a niche is, in my opinion, because not only do you have niche clientele, but you also have a technical niche. So you're basically saying in order to really get good at this, you have to practice it. And in order to practice it, you've got to have you got to have enough leads coming in so that you get the business.
Yeah.
And then you've really been deliberate, it sounds like, in using PR and media to really get your platform out there, to really showcase your technical skills and knowledge. And then the referrals that you must get. I mean, we talk a lot in this industry about the importance of centers of influence and the referrals from CPAs or attorneys. I mean, I would imagine you get a lot of your organic growth coming from centers of influence.
Yes. Yes. And Suzanne, we have a very thoughtful and conscientious approach to really nurturing those relationships. So we have everything in our CRM, and we track all of our centers of influence. They're all keyed. So if I want to see all our matrimonial attorneys, which we know about 300, all of our trust and estate, all of our therapists, all of our elder law attorneys, I can pull them up, and then I can actually see when's the last time I met with them. Have they referred to us? Have we referred to them? What their area of expertise is. And it helps us, stay in front of them and be able to be in front of them. So right now, over the next 3 weeks, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I have about 30 different sales on my sailboat. I live here in Manhattan. We've got a little marina next to our house. And we called the list down to 500. That's as low as I could get it. And it went out. And I'm taking people out on my sailboat, out sailing to the Statue of Liberty. And last night we had, all of our COIs. We had 2 trust and estate attorneys, a fantastic matrimonial attorney. We had another person who is a therapist. And we had a great time, and I love it. I'm, out on my sailboat, having fun, and it's really special for them. And that's just one of the things that we do. But being deliberate about really trying to be in front of those people, trying to help them, right? Get them quoted in articles where maybe I wrote the article, get them a speaking engagement, refer a client to them. These are all things that it's all about just how much can I help them? And then, knock on wood, they remember us when a woman comes in who is extremely high net worth, who says, I've never really managed the finances. This is really intimidating and frightening to me.
Yeah. I mean, what a great idea of and a nice thing that you have the sailboat, which I've been on. It's beautiful. But I think you raise a really interesting point about the importance of getting to know people and that networking and that authentic networking. So that's great that you're helping them get quoted, you're helping them, you're referring to them, all of that. So it goes both ways. But also when you can take time out and really not just be behind a desk or on a Zoom talking business, but really have people get to know who you are. That whole relationship building is, I think, really critical, and especially with busy professionals that could do a lot of things. You're creating a special activity for them, but you also, I think, are getting to know each other outside of that area of expertise as humans. And sometimes we don't give that area enough credit for how important that is of why people do business with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't have to have a sailboat to do it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the other thing, I love to have people over my home, right? And I love for them to see that I'm crazy and I live in New York City and I've got 3 dogs and I've got 2 kids and who I really am, and make dinner for them, and it's in sharing who you are in an authentic way, sharing things that you're passionate about and doing those things with people. Um, that's really special. That's really special. And that's where you go from the knowing someone to liking someone to actually trusting someone. And it's that trust area where you can refer to them and feel very confident and vice versa. And, that takes time. It definitely takes time.
But it's such an important call out when we're talking about um, building a sustainable and impactful business. That piece is such an important piece, right? Everybody talks about technology. Of course, that's critical, but this human element and the ability to really get to know people in a meaningful way, you can't ever take away from that. So I can't believe it, but we are at the end of our podcast time, and I always ask the same question at the end. With the title and the theme of the podcast focused on the future in mind, what is your last line, Stacy? What key takeaway do you want to leave with our audience?
I think that the biggest key takeaway that I could ever offer anyone that has made such a difference to my life is to work with people who you are trustworthy, who are hardworking, who you respect. Surround yourself with the people that you look up to and ideally are smarter than you. And I have to tell you, Suzanne, the real answer to how do I balance all these things, it's because I have great people. I have an amazing executive director, Judy Herbst of Savvy Ladies, and a phenomenal board with Suzanne, you being one of our board members. Through Francis Financial, there's 18 of us, and every single person is the right person, and they're sitting in the right seat of the bus, and I trust them implicitly. And I think that's part of it. You have to have the right people around you and trust them, because there's no way we can do it all. And if we try to, because trust me, I've had this happen numerous times where you overdo it and you end up sick and you end up not enjoying your work because you're burned out.
Mm-hmm.
No one wants that. And we all have been there. And what the antidote is having the right people around you to take some of that burden and to be honest. And there are times too where I, tell my staff, like, you guys, I'm really overwhelmed. I don't know. We need to change something. Can someone help me? And everyone jumps in. And so there's this wonderful, caring, safe place of being able to ask for help. And more importantly, for everybody to get it, because we all have personal lives and we all have a lot going on. And sometimes we can, do 150% flat out at work. And sometimes there's something personal going on that's a little tough and you need some help, and just being in that safe space to ask for help. And I know I feel very safe here and I feel so fortunate. And that's what my hope is for everyone listening as well to have. And it's also my hope for, my employees, my staff members too.
What a great last line. Surround yourself with the right people and good things will happen, right? And I couldn't agree more that it's the worst time in your career. I remember just not having some of the right people in the right roles, and it was a nightmare. So I do 100% agree with that. I love that last line. Stacy, thank you so much for being my guest today and for sharing your thoughts around growing your practice, serving your clients, at the same time as leaving an impact. I have such respect for how you live your life. Seriously. I'm Suzanne Siracuse. Thanks for listening, and I hope this episode leaves you feeling even more excited to be focused on the future.